Hello there, everyone. Okay. And so, welcome, everyone. I'm on Facebook. I'm looking at myself on TikTok, and it looks like it has me looking kind of wild here. Oh, my. But anyway, could be because it is nighttime. I am not sure. And I'm looking for my light. But anyway, let's get started here. And so, caring for caregivers. Again, November is National Family Caregiver Month. And so, what does that mean? And I would say the main thing it means is that it is highlighting and pretty much giving gratitude to caregivers. And if you have never been a caregiver, sit this out. Not unless you've had front seat of supporting a caregiver in some way, because when it comes to certain discussions regarding what decisions caregivers may need to make or what they're considering, if you've never been a caregiver, sit it out. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've been doing a caregiving series, mostly in written form. So I have done one in video form, but I wanted to continue that momentum because if anything, caregivers need all the support that us who either are or have been a caregiver. I'm no longer a caregiver. Both of my parents have passed, but one thing I can say, I am so blessed that I've had the opportunity to be in their life and to be able to support them in the best way that I could, but also in the way that they needed as well. So with this particular series for the Caring for Caregivers, what I want to do is pretty much share with you, but I want your input too now. I want to share with you what are some of the things that have helped me along the way during my caregiving days. And so how we're going to do this is, I had a couple of thoughts in my mind of that. How we're going to do this is that I am going to share with you what I have learned along the way of being a caregiver. And then also I want to ask you, because especially for those of you who have been a caregiver, you have a wealth of information that you can share with others that can benefit. Because if anything, I'm going to say this before I get started with what I have here. Because if anything, most of us, if we not had been completely either on the verge of burnout, or even for some individuals a breakdown, or you've been close, or you've experienced it. Some caregivers have been on the verge of burnout or breakdown, or had experienced it. And so with the Caring for Caregivers series, I really want us to really talk about and be more open of the things that worked, at least, because we pretty much can figure out and know along the way what's not working, and really to highlight some of the lessons that you have learned too. So one question that I have for you all is, did you know that you were a caregiver, or did you acknowledge or accept? Think about that. Did you know that you were a caregiver, especially when it came to your parents and when it comes to, for those of you who have a spouse? I know for some individuals, kind of depends on, like what the person may need. And then at other times, especially like when it comes to dementia, in that sometimes it can be so subtle, because sometimes we know it can take years. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. The main reason I say that is because when I really look back, I want to say, to be honest, it had probably taken me years to really fully say, yeah, I'm a caregiver for my parents, mainly because cognitively, even though my mom, she was diagnosed with vascular dementia and she had aphasia, but she was able to make decisions, she was able to speak. And when it came to her speech, I would say, like, for individuals who didn't know her, you can definitely tell. But like for us, because we had the patience and you just learn how to communicate. Yes, she was able to like talk full sentences, but it was more so, it's like something was on the top of her tongue. It's kind of like, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, I'll tell you in a minute type of thing. So just in saying that, and I'm saying all of that to say, because they had, they weren't incompetent or anything like that. Sometimes I think in those situations, you may not really completely feel like, oh, I'm not a caregiver, because they're able to make their own decisions, And then physically, for my mom, I mean, she was able to do things physically for herself, as we would call her ADLs. When it came to my dad, with my stepdad, his situation as time went on, because he eventually became an amputee, then he had, he needed more care. I'll put it like that. He needed more assistance and he needed more care. So in saying that, just me, and I did not have to participate in that, because they were able to afford to get home health care or personal care aid, and there's some other things. I'm not going to get too much into all of that, but my whole point is that sometimes when we or you do not completely accept and being a caregiver, it can prevent you from taking care of yourself that needs to be taken care of. And just in taking care of yourself, that's the main thing. So meaning we can define caregiver as someone who's supporting someone, looking after someone, even though you say, oh, I'm just doing these errands for them. Yes. And I will say, I do want to say this too. I do feel like I was more of a caregiver for my mom than I was for my dad, because he, because even though he used a scooter, I mean, he was able to get around, again, because cognitively he was there. So it was more so, I want to say, like for transportation. So again, if we don't completely accept, because you see what I just did, right? I'm still kind of like, almost like, well, I really wasn't, but accept that. Because the things that you do really do make a big difference, because the more that you accept and the more you are receptive in that role, the more you're able to take care of yourself. And this is what a self-carepreneur is all about, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs, who are leaders, and a caregiver. because it's important for you to take care of yourself. So in that, I have a couple of questions in which I wanted to pretty much put that out there, because sometimes, again, by you not accepting your role as a caregiver, then it makes you less likely to take care of yourself and to make sure you put things in place so that you can be well as well, so that you can continue to be a caregiver. And so I do want to hear from you all. It's like, what role did you all play when it came to your loved ones, by you being a caregiver? I like to hear that. So one of the ways in which one small act of self-care that has helped me to recharge as a caregiver, after caregiving a long day, generally it will be either binging on some type of podcast or something I kind of call it dealing with consciousness. Or if it was a movie, it was a specific type of movie, because it's more so something, I kind of call it, to interrupt the energy. So it's either an action or something of a comedy. So I either would watch a comedy or action, or I would, again, and I still do it. I can definitely anything dealing with self-development, I'm always binging on that. So what about you? What is one small act of self-care that has helped you to recharge after a long caregiving day? And especially for those of you, if you live with your parents, or if your parents live with you, or your grandparents, or your spouse, you could be taking care of your spouse. We know that when it comes to Bruce Willis and his wife and the way that they have things set up, but she is open about when it first started, of just how overwhelming that she was. And she has the resources in order to be able to set things up. But even though she has the resources, there's still things that she is experiencing. But overall, just like everybody else, it's that sense of overwhelming and really not knowing what to do. And I do want to say, it's really in different stages of what I had to experience. And one thing, and I want to say this, one thing I'm saying is that I'm saying it from my perspective, because of the fact with my parents, there were different relatives who played a part in their caregiving. So I do want to put that out there. And so I'm saying it from it's not just my perspective, it's my experience. And it can be the same way for you all. You all may have people who will step up and who will pretty much play a part in caregiving. But then some of you may have different family members, but you're the only one who's putting in the work. You're the only one who's doing that. And I definitely send, my prayers to you all, because I know that that's not easy at all. Not easy. So that was one of the things that has helped me out as well. And so, again, what is one small act of self-care that has helped you all when you had a long day of self-caregiving? And I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to keep it there. I'll do another video regarding some other things. Anyway, the next one is a moment when I realized that I needed to take a break and care for myself. When it comes to that one, I would say, and again, for anyone who's coming up here, we're talking about caring for the caregivers. And we're going through different questions in which of how caregivers care for themselves. And if you are a caregiver or you have been a caregiver, like in my case, I have been a caregiver, of what are some things that you've done so that you can take care of yourself. So one of the when I had realized that I needed to take a break and take care of myself, pretty much two things come up for me. One of them is that I remember I just felt tired because there was one particular time I live out of state, and so there was one particular time I was going back and forth. And so, I was working full time, but I was working part time as well. And then, like on the opposite weekend, then I would visit my parents and do what needs to be done and to spend time with them and everything like that. So when I had realized, like, gosh, I'm so tired, what is going on here, And then that's when it dawned on me, because, we were kind of accustomed, you're going to do what you need to do and kind of been accustomed to doing different things. And so in saying that, I'm like, okay, something got to change here. So I looked at everything, and what I ended up doing, I ended up giving up that part-time job so that I can have the energy to be able to do one, so I won't have that extra stress on me, and then also so I can be completely present for my parents. And so what about you all? What are one thing, when was the moment that you all realized that you needed to take a break and care for yourself? And what did you do? And for some of you all, because you may be the only person to provide that care, what did you do? You may not be able to, again, quote unquote, I say, quit a part, like some individuals financially may not be able to quit a part-time job, or may not be able to quit their job at all. Or some individuals may have to quit their job to take care of a loved one. And we're sharing all of this because of the fact that it can help so many other people. And this is one of the reasons why I want to share this as well, because of the fact that what has helped me may be able to help someone else. And as we like to say, even if it's just one person, because one thing that I can say is that by me binging on personal development, self-care type of things during that time, it really exposed me to a lot of different things. And so now the second part of that, because there was another time I'm like, something is going on. It was like one day I was, with my parents that particular weekend, and something just seemed like, I understand it now, and I can't say something that seemed out. I felt off. I felt off. I didn't know what was going on, because pretty much like with my parents, a lot of time they would sleep a lot. So even though I was there, sometimes they would sleep. Some of it was the medications that they were taking, and some of it was because of their, medical condition. So in saying that, it was just one particular day, I just felt, I don't know, I just kind of say my energy was off. So in saying that my energy was off, I'm like, what's going on here? So during that particular time, remember I said I was all about, personal development, self-care, looking for different ways. Really, I wasn't even looking at different ways to help myself. I was looking for different ways to help others, because for those of you who may not know, that, I am a licensed clinical social worker that I work in the mental health industry. And so I was like, what are some other ways to help people in a different way? And so I had registered for a Reiki class. And this was after my attunement. And I just remember, I was like, gosh, what is going on with my energy? And so I had scheduled an appointment with one of my Reiki colleagues. And the thing is, I really want to share this because of the fact some of you all may have experienced this as well. In that, it was my weekend, and then my brother, let's just say, we switched place. I'll put it like that. And he checked on, with my mom, because they did live, independently. Because at that particular time they were living in independent living. And he just noticed that something wasn't right. I just put it like that something wasn't right. And so I had already got on the road, and he ended up taking my mom to the emergency room to get her evaluated. And if I remember correctly, I do believe she did end up being admitted. And so what I took from that, it was like, at the time I didn't understand it, and at the time I didn't know. But you know how sometimes we say that, like when it comes to people's energy, that somebody else's energy can impact us, and our energy can impact them as well. And so that's what I feel like that was happening. Again, I didn't understand that at the time. So pay attention to your energy, because of the fact that sometimes with your loved ones, their energy could be giving you a clue or a cue about something. It really just means to investigate it more. And I felt so bad, because I'm like, I have been here, all weekend, all day, with her. They will wake up and, to eat and everything. And, we interact some, but because they slept so much, but I think probably by that time by the time my brother got there, she had already waken up. But I did feel bad though. But in saying that, I went ahead and went to, where did I go? Got back to the city where I live at, and had my Reiki session. And after that, y'all, I never forget it. And this has been years ago now, but I will never forget it. After that Reiki session, I felt like I had been on the beach for 2 weeks. That's how good it was. But it also shows you too that my energy was off. My chakras were shocked. It was shocked. And so, again, pay attention to your own energy. So in saying that, a Reiki session could be something that can benefit you. If that's something that you feel like that you want to invest in, let me know. Let me know, because I am attuned in that. And so I want to know about you all. When it comes to, again, this is about caring for the caregivers. We're going to help each other out, because of the fact something that has helped me may be able to help you as well. And again, especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs, for those of us who are leaders, especially 40 plus, we can use all the support that we can, right? Now, the other thing is what is one thing that you wish others understood about the emotional challenges of a caregiver? Ooh. With that particular one, I wish especially for individuals who had never been a caregiver before, sit this one out. And then also, there are some individuals, because I've seen it on social media, because there are some individuals, because they did it without, any support, and they're, working, and they have 3 kids, and they can do it, and they took care of both of their parents. I am so glad that you've been able to do that. You are an outliner, meaning that very few people are able to do that. And I commend you for that. That is wonderful. I'm so glad that you're able to do that. But a lot of people can't. Everybody nervous system is different, everybody capacity is different, everybody resources is different. So sit that one out. I said that to say, I really wish, one thing that a lot of people misunderstand when it comes to the emotional challenge of being a caregiver is how hard it really is. And when someone expresses how hard it is, it doesn't mean that they don't love their loved ones. It doesn't mean that at all. And now that I think about it, I mean, I don't have kids, but I do have nieces and nephews and godchildren. And I can imagine that it's really the same thing or at least something similar, parents who have kids, of course, in that even though parenting can be a hard thing, it has its rewards, but it still can be hard to be a parent, And so I wish that when it comes to caregiving, that people understood that it is hard. And when someone's saying that it's hard, or someone is asking for help, especially if they're asking for outside help, meaning outside of the home, either for someone to come into the home, or even if they are suggesting or recommending that their loved one, end up in assisted living or a nursing home or such. And I really feel like that's misunderstood. And I'm going to say this, because even though this one is not that much of a teaching live, in that generally we want to, anybody that knows me, if you follow this platform, this is all about self-care. It's about you taking care of yourself. It's about navigating through the hard things of life. We know about mental health, but what about your well-being? So this is helping you. Self-care is helping you along the way. And so with everything that we know, let's just say when it comes to for those of us, I'm going to say, who are 40 plus, when it comes to our parents, some of them didn't have a whole lot of resources. Some of it didn't know. Some of them were in that, survival mode. But for us, we have the resources. Even if some of you are a late starter, even for me, even though I'm a self-care advocate, now I'm all about self-care, but there's still some areas in my life that I need to improve. There's some areas in my life in which I can get better at. But we have the resources. We know, especially for those of us who had been or who are a caregiver, how do you want your loved ones to take care of you? Like for me, I want them to look after me. I really don't want them to take care of me. That is a lot to have to put on someone. Because the thing is that when you're talking about legacy, when you're talking about your loved one's health, because it is known that when it comes to caregivers, in that their mental well-being and their physical health can decrease drastically. And some of them end up, being sometimes even sicker than the person that they're taking care of. So this is why self-care is really so important. It's so important for you to take care of yourself. And I'm staying on target here. And so I'm gonna go with, so again, I really wish people understood when it comes to the emotional challenges. I just wish they understood that there is emotional challenges, that it's hard, in being, like, even though I wasn't a primary caregiver, but it was still hard in the role and in the capacity that I was at. It was hard. It was emotionally hard, challenging, and the emotional turmoil at different stages in my parents, medical challenges, medical mayhem, of all the different things that had happened. So I really wish that people understood. So what about you all? What do you wish that what is one thing that you wish others understood about the emotional challenges of being a caregiver? And with the last one, which is that one pretty much end up on a good spot. How do you incorporate moments of stillness or mindfulness into your daily routine, even if it's just for a few minutes? How are you able to do that? Because I know for some you're not able to do that. And I'm not going to say you're not able. Sometimes you feel like you're not able. But there are some sneaky ways that you can take a few minutes. Now, for me, one thing I can say, because my parents didn't require, hands-on, constant hands-on, that I didn't have to provide that for them. But I know for some of you, that may not be the case. And whether it's any level, the way I look at it, any level of caregiving, it can be draining. Again, that goes back to the question that we had before. What is one of the things that, we wish people understood? For the most part, to normalize that it's hard, that it's challenging, and to also, to give caregivers grace, because it doesn't mean they don't care for their loved ones. It doesn't mean that I didn't care. It just means that at times it can be hard. So for the moments of stillness, for me, like I said, my setup was different. So I got my rest, What I will say though, just in general, because one, anybody that knows me know I'm going to get my sleep. And, but basically it's to take five to thrive. And that's one thing that I really encourage people. And when it comes to taking 5 to thrive, that's 5 steps, 5 moments, 5 seconds, or 5 minutes. Ideally, it's 5 minutes. And that's to take time to get your breath. Take that deep breath. And some of you really need it. Take that deep breath so that you can have, that moment for yourself. Because if not, what ends up happening is almost like you're beating yourself up. It's like you're stabbing your body. The stress in and of itself is doing a lot to you, but if you don't find any type of release, then it will end up taking over. So that's another reason why it's so important for us to take that breath. And that's why self-care, again, is just so important. And so for those of you who want some support, for those of you who are entrepreneurs or leaders and a caregiver, I created a group in school called Fortitude Free Circle, and it's a community for entrepreneurs and leaders. Mainly, the main thing is so that you can sustain your sanity, thrive under pressure, and supercharge your self-care. Because as entrepreneurs and as leaders, a lot of time the self-care gets put to the back burner, and if you're a caregiver, it makes it even harder in and of itself. And we don't want you to be running on fumes. We want you to feel and to fuel yourself. So one way that you can do that is to come into the circle so that you can have the reminders to take 5, so that you can get that nudge. So sometimes you need, it's like, hey, are you taking care of yourself? Because that is really important, because of the fact that by you all having a calling, your calling is calling you, and we need you. And even though you may have some other things that may be going on, those things are a part of your calling as well. Because I never knew that all of those things were a part of my calling. But it's important to take care of ourselves. And that's why I talk about self-care a whole lot. And you get more into the circle anyway, because you get to practice the Take 5 to Thrive. We break it down even more so, and we meet every Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But for those of you who are interested in learning more about the circle, or you just want to join in, comment circle. Because especially as caregivers who have a calling, sometimes being a caregiver make you it introduces or ignite the calling, and for some it is an addition of what you may have already been experiencing and everything else. And like for some of us, it's got added to it, right? But we want you to be taken care of, and you're the only person who are able to do that. But one thing I can tell you, you really need some support. You really need some support. And I'll during this series, in which I've shared it before, but I'll share it during this series of some of the different things that have helped me along the way. And so I do want to hear from you all. So there were 4 questions, and I shared my answers with you on what I experienced, and I do hope that it resonated with you all as well. And for those of you who are on YouTube, make sure that you like and that you subscribe so that you can get and hit that notification button too, so that you'll know the next time when I go live. So I will see you all next time.